Make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. We will unpause and repause. Quite a lot of news actually to talk about today, in fact. Right now, I think I have about 20 different tabs open with news stories. I'm clearly not going to get to them all. Same problem I had the other day, actually. Some days, you get nothing. Nothing exciting is happening. You're scraping the bottom of the barrel looking for like old articles and shit like that just to have something to talk about. And then other days you get so overloaded, you get primo stuff, but you can't even cover it all. There's not enough time in the day. This happens with my main videos on a regular basis. In fact, it happened today, and so I've got 20 different tabs open. We're going to have to talk about autism. Yes, indeed, Trump and RFK Jr. making their big address with regards to attempting to figure out what's happening with rising autism rates. I've got my own feelings on this. Tylenol is big in the news. Liberals right now, I guess they're scarfing down whole bottles of Tylenol just to prove it's safe. We'll talk about that separately because there is a little bit of, we have to forge through the weeds in order to find out the truth of whether Tylenol is actually adjacent to autism. Tylenol taken during pregnancy, specifically acetaminophen. Trump to meet top Democrats as their healthcare demands fuel government shutdown risk. Of course, it's not entirely sure that the meeting is going to be fruitful. Due to Trump's Truth Social post literally the other day, casts in doubt whether the Republicans are even going to play ball at all on this. But the Democrats are really the ones that are screwing themselves because if they use the Senate filibuster to block spending, much of which is approved of by the American public, because they're being sour grapes over trillions of dollars in funding for other things that shouldn't be part of the budget at all, they're going to be the ones that take their lumps. I think the Republicans will win this round fairly handily. Ramaswamy, some of you don't even know this, running for governor in Ohio, but he just picked up a very interesting endorsement, namely the Teamsters Union. One more symbol of the fact that the Union Dems really, the Democratic Party has fallen out of favor with them. They're becoming less partisan, and now you've got this flocking of union members to the MAGA side. Now, we'll talk about Ramaswamy separately, because he's not really MAGA, but, he did get the Teamsters Union's endorsement, so that does matter in a state like Ohio. Just saying, I think that he's got a good shot of winning, actually. Trump administration asked Supreme Court to let it limit passport sex markers for trans and non-binary Americans. That's because gender is a dichotomy, and it simply makes sense. You should list your actual gender. If you've got a Y chromosome, you're male. If you don't, you're female. Doesn't matter how you physically present. We should go back to the simpler times, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was bemused by a small child saying, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. I mean, it is as simple as that, basically. Your neo-penis or your neo-vagina, they don't biologically speaking count for anything. Erica Kirk, I forgive him. The answer to hate is not hate. I have a very nuanced take with regards to this one. This is this is Charlie Kirk's wife, his widow, and of course he's the one that got shot there at his rally. And she's saying, no, we don't want any more hate. I can admire the message, but there's nuance involved with this. I'll get into it. And then we've got a ghost shark that has teeth on its forehead, actually. In today's Science News, apparently they just barely discovered this. This is not a horn or something. It's actually a tooth growing out of its head. Helps it with mating procedures. Very, very bizarre creature. And we've got a ton of other stuff. We might get to some of it. Copium. Check your DMs. Send a link to a post. Article link in replies. You may want to cover. Apparently, Ron Wyden doesn't even live in Oregon, and his family lives in and operates a business in New York. Huh. I wasn't aware of this. Thank you. Yeah, I'll let me see that really quick. Maybe we can cover that first. Just a sec. Thank you for all of the news tips that you send, by the way, Copium. Yeah, there's a few people that just send enormous amounts of news my way. This is partially why I get overloaded. I'm not complaining, though. Trust me, I'd complain about the opposite. What? A lawsuit alleges the kids of Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, and Nancy Bass Wyden sexually harassed an employee who quit and committed suicide. Bass Wyden is asking the court to keep the public from seeing the allegations. I wonder why. Okay, I'm going to have to look more into this. Thank you very much. Wyden wiped secrecy for suit accusing kids of harassing employee. Nancy Bass Wyden, wife of Senator Ron Wyden, reported the employee stole $650,000. That doesn't mean that you sexually harass somebody, but I mean, this is a Democrat, so it wouldn't, particularly surprise me. Thank you, Copium, for that one. Thank you for my laugh of the morning. He's being sued for the death of an ex-staffer. Yeah, I guess she killed herself. And after his kids, I guess, sexually harassed her? That's a very strange case. I'm going to have to look more into that before I can give any more meaningful news. Yeah, I mean, with Wyden, he always seemed like a weird dude, so it wouldn't really surprise me if, him and his family are into some bizarre shit. It's like Tim Walz. Imagine what he's got in his basement. It's probably like a torture dungeon and stuff like that. Just saying. Innocent until proven guilty, but it's believable. We'll put it that way. Let's get to our sponsors before we get to the news, by the way. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. I took mine this morning. That's why I'm high energy. Also got doggo snacks as well. 6 dual activated and perfectly organic mushroom extracts actually in those. These ones boost energy and make me feel younger. They literally do. Since I've been taking them, I've felt quite a lot better, like less exhausted and stuff like that. They seem to work really, really well. We've got BiltongUSA.com. Anytime that Anton's site is mentioned, we have a duty. We must eat some Bovrite. And it is good, trust me. Salty? Yes. Even though it contains no salt, I'm not sure exactly how that works. But Bovrite, Vegemite, Marmite available. All sorts of different bagged meats. You've got Wagyu, you've got Angus, you've got Cabanassi. Some of them come in stick form. That's better for like hiking, I've noticed. The rest of it is shredded. That's really good for soups and stuff like that. Or in a stir fry, or anything like that. It was mentioned earlier that they should put biltong in the U.S. MREs. I happen to agree with this. Just have a little side pack of it. Like sort of like you have the beef jerky now. The biltong is better than the beef jerky. Also, Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is jamandbean.com, where you can get Clanker coffee. Got the Costa Rica blend. Various teas are available. All of which are delicious, actually. I haven't had one that I didn't like. I still think that the Yunnan Gin, is my favorite. That's a caffeinated tea, though. So that's something that you drink, like, in the morning, a little bit groggy. You heat that shit up and, you putter around for a little bit and then you swash down a bunch of tea. There's also plenty of green teas. There's a jasmine tea, Jolly Peach, Friendship tea, which is really, really good, by the way. All sorts of stuff available there. So, again, jamandbean.com. Copium Poppies, they called him a FG, but the case reveals he's not even legitimately holding office. Huh. Okay, I can see that this story is going to, if it's really big, here's the thing. There's like a sweet spot with regards to news stories. I've noticed this. I wonder if anyone else has. If it's like boring bullshit, nobody covers it. Because it's boring. It's not giving you any ad revenue. If it's pretty big, it gets front page news. But if it is extremely big, like scandalously big, like, oh shit, what the fuck is happening big, oftentimes it gets kind of disappeared by elements of the legacy media. They'll probably cover for Wyden. Assuming he did something wrong, I don't know that he did. Matthew Hammond, did you see that YouTube is rolling back channel bans? Jim Jordan posted on X. Huh. Oh, good. That's Biden admin was responsible for forcing YouTube to ban accounts. Huh. I wonder if I could recover my original account. That was 2007, so that ship has probably sailed. Probably try to contact them. Anyone, YouTube doesn't really have anyone to contact, though. That's the whole problem. I don't know if I can revive my first account. I would love to do that, and I mean, the videos, it was weird. This is my experience as a content creator. When YouTube was younger, things were a little bit more haphazard. So I got my very first channel banned. This was, now almost 20 years ago. And so I made the one that I'm using now. But the channel was still up through the early 2010s, actually. But everything was still there. You couldn't log in because you're banned, but the channel was still there. I have no clue why this happened. Back then I was just Sticks Hexenhammer. There was no 666. Bystander syndrome, Agent Orange Man, has heavily disappointed me in all aspects. Tylenol, a distraction from vaccines. H1B, too little too late. He did it to fudge econ numbers. UN, literally only doing because of Gaza. He's improving. I'm giving him more time. The one thing that really pisses me off about what Trump's not doing is reforming Section 230. We saw today, going after Google, I made this my new tech exclusive, trying to use antitrust laws. They are applicable, by the way. But Trump said he just wanted to reform Section 230 and have an Internet Bill of Rights. You can solve all of these problems simply by doing that. By making the digital square a situation where you are a platform or you are a publisher, you are not both. And you can't maintain a duopoly and ban people from app stores and shit like that simply because you don't want to compete with them. That's literally the only thing that you have to do. Copium, we whore our music all the time, but now you can sleep with Copium Poppies for a price. See our pinned tweet on Copium Poppies over on X. Yep. Now they're selling their dicks and shit. Fenrir Howells, you weren't satanic? I was a Satanist very, very long ago. I left that behind because it's a bunch of horse shit, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I'm an occultist, I'm a pagan, but I'm not interested in Satanism. It's basically just atheism with a floor show. Got boring. Bystander syndrome, are you sure you're not coping? No, I'm fine. Here's the thing, in the preponderance of all issues, Trump is doing generally good job. But there are some things that are falling short. The internet free speech thing is definitely one of them. He has taken some steps, but it's not enough. Honestly, it's not enough. So I'm hoping, because that was the first thing that he addressed on Rumble, I'm really hoping that he gets to that. I realize you've got to deal with trade and diplomacy and the border and stuff like that, but there should be at least, basically do what Eisenhower did. Choose whoever would be best for the task of amending 230 and giving advice and stuff like that, and have them write up a report. You can do your other work. Last Beacon, yeah, video replies were fun. Those were great. That was really, YouTube peaked around 2015, 2014, thereabouts. It had become far more functional. It had a lot of the monitors, but you still had messages, which was important. I want to be able to talk to people on the platform itself. It makes no sense why they removed it. I'm assuming that people were like being perverted or spamming too much, and they just said, fuck it. But they should bring back DMs. And I don't know what this A/B testing crap is when I upload a video. When I go to put in the title, it says A/B testing. I don't dare to click it because I have no clue what it is, because YouTube never told me. And they keep doing this over and over again. As far as Tylenol and autism, let's get to the news now. Here's my thoughts. There are some studies that show an overlap between women using acetaminophen during pregnancy and autism. There are other studies showing no particular causal link. This is why I support the Trump administration in this particular endeavor. Since we do not know, it makes sense to be cautious. If we think that there could be a conceived link, it kind of makes sense to say, hey, pregnant women, maybe you don't need the Tylenol. And what do you take Tylenol for anyway? Mild complaints. I have a headache. Maybe it's a tumor. It's not a tumor. Stuff like that. You have a headache. You feel a little bit achy. You're pregnant. You're probably going to have various symptoms. But if Tylenol taken in, even rudimentary amounts is going to cause, long-term health issues, then certainly it should be something to be warned about and studied further. This is the real trust the science. This is the real following the science. Hey, can we get enough of a cohort together and look at it and see what we can do? They're also testing various treatments to try to prevent autism. A lot of times children, they don't have enough folium intake. Their mother's not getting enough folic acid, and this can cause problems. Also, I believe spinal deformities, if I remember correctly. And so they're trying to do their job, and liberals right now have bottles full of them. They're chugging them down. Tylenol's perfectly safe. Orange man bad. Looks like they're, doing something else, but... Yeah, you should give your pregnant wife clanker coffee. That's a good idea, tarred and feathered. I am just joking, of course. Although I don't think coffee really fucks with anything. I mean, if you're just drinking a cup of it, I don't think that it's going to cause any problems. But if we think that Tylenol or some other agent, like look at thalidomide and some of these other things, we've got so many examples. The FDA is coming out and swearing that Tylenol is safe. Well, you've got conflicting reports from the studies. Shouldn't you have an open mind? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Looks almost like Tylenol is so ubiquitous that they're simply shielding, its parent company because it's Tylenol. It's been used forever, therefore it must be safe. Well, the FDA told me that cigarettes were safe back before I was born, and of course the doctors generally, they smoked Winston's or Chesterfields or something, which is hilarious. 9 out of 10 doctors believe that the T-zone of Camel is refreshing and wonderful, and stuff like that. They also told me I should eat an entire loaf of Wonder Bread every single day as a child. So you'll excuse me if I don't necessarily believe the FDA. I think that most of you are intelligent and rational enough to probably come to the same conclusion. Holden Sneedmeyer, Euros trying to keep us mired in Ukraine. Estonia incident with standard plane transfers to Kaliningrad. Also, decoy drone thing in Poland. Likely recovered Ruski drones used by Ukros to make headlines. That did seem like it very much might be a false flag. That one did look like that. But there have been repeated incursions. The problem is, what the hell is NATO supposed to do about it? Yeah, what are they supposed to do? Bomb them out of the sky? Because if you don't, and they are staging incursions, they'll go further and further because they know you won't do anything. This is how mutually assured destruction could actually become a real thing. As far as autism, I believe that autism is overdiagnosed because a lot of times when you say someone's autistic, they're on the spectrum. It's like a really pretty rainbow color and everything else. Well, I'm technically on the spectrum. I'm a spurg, as they would term it. I do not like prolonged eye contact. I am quite shy, actually. I mean, if somebody comes up and says, "Oh, Sticks," it's like, I will be friendly and interact with you. I'm not shy in those situations. But in situations where it's just like some random person, I won't even walk up to somebody to ask for directions, generally speaking. I'm slowly getting better at doing that sort of thing, but I am a real wallflower, actually, in real life, in many ways. Most of you probably wouldn't, understand that because, of course, I make my living talking to millions of people. But in real life, I get shy. I'm very shy. I tend to be the one that's going to be in the corner, so to speak, and minding his own business. That's just sort of the way I am. This kind of avoidance also puts you on the spectrum. Do I believe that these two traits make me mentally ill? No, it's just my personality. So the first part is overdiagnosis, where we're trying to label people as part of this broad spectrum disorder that maybe somebody is just shy. Maybe somebody just doesn't like certain tactile feelings. Like I hate, and I actually get shivers just thinking about it. I hate the feeling of like dry paper. So I'll literally like lick my fingertips before I get a tissue because, otherwise it gives me the shivers. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm still shivering now. This is an autistic tendency. Is it debilitating? No. Who gives a fuck? Is it actually part of a mental disorder? Nah, not really. But if we think that there's some sort of chemical composition involved with potentially developing what we would conceive of as more profound actual autism. So it's not just you avoid eye contact or something like that. It's more like, hey, you're basically non-functional. If there's any way for us to limit the number of odds of that happening, I don't see any problem with that. How is this anti-scientific? Some liberals are saying, oh my God, Donald Trump is waging a war on Tylenol. No, he's ordering RFK Jr. and the others in the NIH to look into whether it causes a profound disease that is crippling in some people. Again, there's a difference between the two things. So where the thing is, we don't know. Well, if you don't know, then it probably pays to be cautious, now doesn't it? Copium. Pregnant women should smoke cigarettes. It helps keep the fetus from turning into a pussy later in life. Get a little crack from Sleazy up in there. Have a crack baby. You remember the crack baby thing from back in the 80s and 90s? I'm just old enough to remember when the crack baby thing was still in fashion. Mothers are going to smoke drugs when they're pregnant, and then their babies are going to be all fucked up. Turns out that the legally prescribed opioids they were generally given are far more damaging. Again, another reason why I do not trust the mainstream medical complex. So when the legacy media tells me RFK Jr. is nuts, he's outside of the normal medical orthodoxy, I say, great. That sounds, you don't have to sell it to me. I already bought it. Anton has arrived. Good morning, Anton. Well, maybe I'll have Vegemite today. We're going to celebrate the Australians, the craziest people in the world. They live upside down and everything in their country wants to kill them, so we'll give some respect. Vegemite's good too. I think I'll make toast tomorrow and I'll just smear all this on. I wonder how all three taste together. Because this is really salty and beefy. This is the salty S. But it doesn't have the beefy overtone. And then the Marmite has like an aftertaste of sorts. Kind of hard to actually quantify exactly what it tastes like at times. Trump to meet top Democrats as their healthcare demands fuel government shutdown risk. Yes, the Democrats are really stepping into it. And I don't think, because their party leadership is so poor right now, I mean, Chuck Schumer is basically their leader at the moment. Because they don't know what the hell they're doing, they seem to have waded into a trap. A Trump trap. This has happened before, multiple times. I've talked about the Trump trap during his first term. He would lure people into a battle that they just could not win. That appears to be what's happening with the looming possible government shutdown. That could, again, it could come in 1 week. The Democrats are attempting to hold a shit ton of left-wing funding over the Republicans' heads and say, well, we're not going to pass your bill unless you allow us to pass this. And Trump has basically told them to fuck themselves. Said, well, okay, there'll be no meeting. When you get serious, you can come and talk with me. The Democrats, in filibustering it, which is what they will have to do because the Republicans are actually holding rank, they are going to suffer monumentally. The amount of political capital lost will be insane. Because it'd be like, look, you pass a clean bill, and then separately, you look after these other things. There are ways to get it through, in theory, just don't shut down the government. Now, as for myself, do I care if the government gets shut down? Nope. Means nothing to me. Means absolutely nothing. Some people get furloughed. That's basically what happens. And that's all that happens. I wish that government shutdowns were actual shutdowns. I wish that when the budget ran out, the government effectively folded and didn't do anything other than they would meet up and maybe have another vote on funding things, and keep everything closed, because it would be great. The less government, the better. If anything, we should probably permanently shut down the government. Just excise 90% of that spending. It'll be a lot easier to fund the rest of it now, won't it? That would be a paradise, in my opinion. Copium Poppies, if you are listening to this, yes, you! This is a sign from whatever deity you worship to buy Copium Poppies music, not just stream. Available for purchase on Amazon Music and Apple. I'm surprised that Apple even allows you on the platform, because they're so fucked up with regards to censorship. Excuse me. Fluboo. Back in the day, there would be lines out the door for midnight releases of Harry Potter books. Harry Potter, Harry Potter. Now kids can't even read. No wonder society perceives them as fucked up, as well as for other reasons. Again, government's problem. I've talked about this. Harry Potter actually figures into this. There were schools that were trying to take the most popular books, something that the kid would read 3 or 4 times in a row, increasing their literacy, and try to ban it, because of witchcraft. They did the same with Pokemon cards. They've done the same with everything else under the sun. Now, the same censorious left wants to promote the dumbed-down sphincterbation books in elementary schools. So it's all right if you have a book that's like, hey, Kevin fucked Rick in the ass, and he had a great time of it. Look at the cum dripping out of his asshole. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with cum dripping out of an asshole. But if you have a fantasy novel about a kid who waves a stick around and, blasts dragons in the head with magic, that all of a sudden, that's a real big problem. And it's gotten to the point, J.K. Rowling has been a victim of cancel culture. She's one of the richest women in the world. She's created one of the greatest franchises in all of human history. And even she gets, jack shit, basically. She does own a castle, so I suppose that's a consolation. But the fact that she recognizes that gender is dichotomous makes her an enemy of the state. Holden Sneedmeyer. Trump just gave a speech at the UN saying the UN is useless. Good. Shouldn't be in NATO either. Send them both across the ocean. I think that being a member of the UN is alright, but the UN is useless. Let's all face it. Everyone knows this. It doesn't matter what country they're from. In fact, the UN unifies people in hating them. Well, we've accomplished something. I agree with a bunch of North Korean communists on that one. NATO, I think we should remain a member of, but we kind of need to reform exactly how it functions. It's reforming. Trump has taken steps. For example, he got a bunch of European countries to pull their fair share. Good. That's wonderful, actually. But at the same time, its response capabilities and its readiness overall, they remain somewhat in question. So it needs reform. It needs work. It's like, hey, this car would be pretty cool if it were actually capable of driving down the road. You're going to need to do some mechanical work now, aren't you? As far as the UN, I agree, though, it's useless. Copium Poppies, I don't think we're on Apple's radar since it's not a social platform. Our music is here because we go through a distributor. We're everywhere. Apple and Amazon are the only ones I'm aware sell downloads. Yeah, it's good music too. Check out the Copium Poppies. Frequent comments, good music. I'm thinking, I just got a thought. How about a Thanksgiving live stream? And drag a turkey in here and just stream for 4 or 5 hours. I don't know, I just got hungry all of a sudden. It's probably because I ate Vegemite. Unglued Arts, glad my work made it. Was a bit overwrapped. Thanks for what you do. No, this is great stuff. Oh yeah, for anyone that didn't see it, I've got my own furry trout now. I love this far more than you know, by the way. Furry trout. It's made of paper mache. Yeah, they used to do this as a joke back in the colonial era. And because people from Europe, they didn't know anything about the North American continent. So when you told them, the water up there is really cold, so the fish grew fur, they would believe it. It's from Brotherhood of the Wolf, too. There was a gag in that movie about it. And then, of course, I have my Sticks, Axe, and Hammer octopus. I decided to give him a little sword here. It's actually a letter opener, but it is roughly the right size, so I just figured it sort of went with it. Holden Sneedmeyer, if the AfD takes power, they'll pull out of NATO. I do not believe that Germany will leave NATO. I think that would be... I doubt it. I don't think they would do so. They'd face too much backlash, because people have been riled up about Russia. So I don't think that that'll occur. What I do think is that they will probably join with the populistic factions in other countries to try to reform NATO. This is what I would suggest. The concept of having a Western alliance in and of itself is a good idea, but it's too bureaucratic, it's too top-heavy, and it doesn't even respond half the time, so I don't see exactly why it's particularly necessary to keep in its current form. But you could reform it. Effectively, the countries just throw in together, they pledge a certain amount of GDP for military spending, they cross-train with one another. It doesn't need to be heavily bureaucratic. Look, the Nazis were terrified of U.S. troops back in World War II. They had a circular that went out, and it specifically listed the reason why it was so difficult to fight U.S. troops, and they're like, because they're a mess. They're completely unorganized. We never know what the hell they're going to do. They're constantly jury-rigging everything and bootstrapping everything, and that tank that came at us had 2 turrets for some reason. They didn't know what was going on. It was confusing. It was Operation Chaos. That's what we need for NATO. That's why we don't win engagements as much anymore. Because our enemies are still engaging in that kind of behavior, generally speaking, and we're more like a Roman column. And so it's become a problem. They should get some Vietnamese consultants in there, because Vietnam, only time they ever lost was to the French, and that was only because they were drunk as fuck, so yeah. It's interesting to have a country that's basically never lost any battle or war, except to the French. I do find this amusing. Vietnam is hardcore. I'd love to visit that nation. Get some lemongrass in all your food? Oh, fuck yeah. Just give me a pile of lemongrass, I'll just eat it all. Ramaswamy has a big endorsement to announce. He's running for the gubernatorial slot in the state of Ohio. The Teamsters normally back Democratic candidates. This time, though, they're backing Vivek Ramaswamy. I've got some things to say about him. Number one, this is a big victory for him. In a state like Ohio, with so many unionized workers, you can't pick up much more powerful of an endorsement, so he's likely to get a significant boost from this. I still don't have any adequate polling with regards to this race, so I can't really make a prediction of who's going to win. But I would say this definitely, it helps him considerably. So he's got the Teamsters endorsement. Keep in mind, though, I still have my reservations about Ramaswamy. And I think that Trump, by the way, does as well. Ramaswamy was very much at the forefront, along with Elon Musk, by the way, for a considerable period of time. He had certain tech credibility and things of that nature. He is well-spoken, and he's on the younger side, so it made sense. But Trump effectively, shafted him. Let's put it plainly. Trump shafted Vivek Ramaswamy. And I think that's for a reason. I think it's ideological in nature. The kind of boardroom mentality that Trump has in mind is not the same kind of new tech reality that Ramaswamy has in mind. Nonetheless, I wish him well. Can't imagine that his opponent would be better than him. So, hoping that he wins. Again, we need considerably more polling before we can really gauge anything there in Ohio. I would not trust him in an executive role, like at the federal level, but if he just wants to be the governor of a state, you could do worse. Especially, if the Teamsters are endorsing a person who's on the right wing of politics, that says quite a bit, actually. It also says that Ramaswamy is not actually particularly right-wing, and which is true. Bystander syndrome sticks. Are we still out of missiles after Iran via Israel? Also, how likely do you think civil war is in 2 years? Does our economy have major structural issues? We're not out of missiles. but we shouldn't be selling them or giving them away anyway. We should be stockpiling them for our own purposes and telling people to fuck off. Civil war, very unlikely. I don't think that that's going to happen. As far as our economy, it does have major structural issues, unfortunately, which are being addressed, but it is a very slow process. Every step of the way, first you got to get through Congress, and the Republicans are fickle. Then you've got to get through the judiciary. Well, the judiciary is fickle too. Then you got to get it past Trump's desk after it's been loaded with a bunch of pork, bloat, and bullshit. No, Primal Werewolf, Skyrim belongs to the Empire. Heathens. I played as both when I played Skyrim. I preferred being an Imperial. Flabooboo, watching propaganda films in the movie theater in those final weeks while you're actively being bombed and the light flickers must have been a trip. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that Ramaswamy, with the Teamsters endorsement, I believe he probably gains an advantage. But again, I don't have any real adequate polling to go on. I can try to find some. I think I saw one poll, but that's badly outdated. Yeah, Ramaswamy's winning. Acton v. Ramaswamy, general election, Emerson. This was 8/22, so this is a month outdated. Ramaswamy leading 49-39, so that would put him in a pretty commanding lead. Bowling Green, which was back in April, so this means virtually nothing, 50-45. Ryan versus Ramaswamy. Emerson says Ramaswamy 47, Ryan 41. Bowling Green 51-44. So again, he's ahead in all of these. Acton versus Yost. Acton 45. Oh wait, no, that doesn't involve Ramaswamy at all. That's a Democratic primary. Never mind. So it looks like Vivek Ramaswamy probably will become the next governor of Ohio. I mean, if you're already ahead by 5 to 10 points and you get the Teamsters endorsement, yeah, you're probably going to win that. Which is good. I mean, the Democratic Party at the moment, let's put aside all reservations with regards to Trump, because I'm going to criticize him about, ignoring Section 230. I'm going to criticize Ramaswamy for being a little bit of an empty suit at times. I'm going to criticize the Republicans in general because they're a hot mess. But the Democrats are far worse. At the moment, the Democratic Party is effectually a non-functioning entity. I mean, what are they doing? They're just wandering around like they're blind or something like that. They haven't put forth any meaningful initiatives that they didn't know weren't going to pass to begin with. They haven't done anything to uplift the country. They don't even have a leader. Their leader, technically speaking, is Chuck Schumer. Or, on the other side, Bernie Sanders in AOC. He's taken on a Padawan learner at this point, which is really funny, by the way. It's funny to see this old doddering dude in his mid-80s getting led around like a puppy by this 40-something chick who likes to mix drinks on podcasts. I will admit that it's amusing. You're fiery but mostly peaceful weenie dog. Boom shakalaka laka. Dems and socialists are fading away. Don't underestimate them. They can come roaring back at any time. My hope is the Democratic Party collapses, burns to the ground, and then rises back up in a new form, which maybe actually makes sense, because right now, they don't make sense. Bystander syndrome. Sticks, is American hegemony over due to NATO being about to collapse due to internal debt spending from member nations? No, it's not. Not yet. I've already addressed this. The state of empires typically is about between 200 and 250 years. Some people have said, well, the United States was incepted about 250 years ago, so it should be ready to collapse by now. But it wasn't an empire back in the 1700s. You can find multiple instances in time where you could and this is completely subjective, how you define an empire, where you could define it as such. The first would be right after the Civil War. The United States had reasserted its hegemony over the continent, continental United States. The Confederacy loses. The United States begins to become a real big player in trade and in diplomacy around that time. You could argue that the mid-1800s, therefore, that's when the American Empire formed. That is, it was the Republic, then it became an empire. I personally do not agree with that particular assessment. Another instance in time would be about the time of the Great White Navy. So we're talking like the Theodore Roosevelt era into the 20s, that general era, in which the United States had massively expanded infrastructure, the Homestead Act had been passed, and people were pouring in. The economy was exploding with growth. The military was considerably more advanced than it had been before, Spanish-American War and so forth, and the United States was now clearly a great power. Was it an empire, though? This is arguable. It depends on how you define empire. Another possibility is right after the end of World War I. The United States had distinguished itself on the battlefield as a major player in the Great War, in a major combat zone, and so that would put us a little bit more than 100 years in. I reject that as well. I identify, and then you can say also right after World War II. I think that in the interim period between World War II, so the Nazis are gone, Soviet Union is contained, the United States has built an enormous sphere of influence. Its economic output was, and still is, second to none. You begin developing nuclear arms, you begin developing nuclear energy. Everything is just going forward at a massive rate. I would say roughly around 1949 or thereabouts is the official date of the inception of the U.S. empire. And it is an empire, let's face it. So I believe we're a little bit less than 100 years in. So I think that we have another century and a half to go. And of course, things have changed. Nuclear weapons bring an entirely different complexion to the matter. It's not like the old empires where they fought with arrows and swords. Now, entire countries can be vaporized in 15 minutes. We're going into uncharted waters with this one. But I believe that the United States will maintain its status as the main world power for beyond all of our lifetimes. I do not believe it's going to collapse. Unless it comes from the inside. If we allow ourselves to be subverted by commies, then it'll come sooner rather than later. Sadly. King of Biltong! Did you know that we also specialize in imported food? Yeah, baby! Check out the updates for Biltong USA for a great selection of food items and, of course, Biltong. Yeah. www.biltongusa.com, code STICKS for 10% off. Get yourself some Bovrite, just trust me. You can dip the Biltong in the Bovrite. It actually tastes really good. I love my job. By the way, we're finally getting a little bit of rain. Only a little bit, but it's better than nothing. We're in a fairly significant drought at the moment. A person. D4, Season 10, dropping in 30 minutes. Glad to have caught you live beforehand. Thanks for being the shit. Do you think The View will ever be canned since they've said much worse than Kimmelbot? I don't want them to can The View. I don't want them to take off literally any of the leftoid shows. I want these people to continue memeing themselves and saying stupid things that make no sense, that it becomes low-hanging fruit for me to chuckle about, basically. It's funny. I can make a video about it, and then, people view my videos. I get money. I get paid to do this, and it's all good. Let them humiliate themselves. I fully support it. I do not want to cancel Kimmel or The View. I don't want any of these people. If anything, I wish that they were promoted more because they're among the most brain-dead leftoids. Cooking Inferno. America began its empire with the acquisition of Liberia, followed by the Spanish-American War in which it acquired many colonial territories and the invasion of China during the Boxer Rebellion. Yeah. So again, you would still have roughly a century left. I personally believe that the date is later than that. Again, I would say 49 or thereabouts. You've got atomic weapons. You're beginning to do nuclear research in general. The military, although we did have one snaggle, and a lot of people don't know this. Most of you learned virtually nothing about the Korean War. When we entered the Korean War, a lot of the armor that we were using was still holdovers from World War II. Old-style Sherman tanks that hadn't yet been retrofitted or replaced with something more modern. And they didn't work too well against those Soviet tanks. For a while, the United States was desperately behind. We managed to make up for lost time after a few years, but at first, we were getting slaughtered. Fenrir Howells, when the fuck was the Korean War? The 50s, mainly. Fidevi, pay close attention. A normal person doesn't have eyes that far apart. This is clearly AI. No, it's called myopia, actually. I don't know if you were referring to me or some other person that's been mentioned. Oh, Fenrir Howells, they think I'm AI. Oh yeah, Fidevi does think that I'm AI. That's going to be another problem, a cultural one. As AI becomes more advanced, it's already getting to the point where you sort of have to check whether it's actually real or not. It's already begun. Some of it's better made than others. Some of it's like, Donald Trump is serving fries and they explode all over his face and stuff. It's clearly AI generated. But in some cases, it's pretty believable. And so I have to double fact check at this point when I do news stories. Yeah, in the Korean War, the United States, technically speaking, had inferior technology on some platforms to the communists that were there. And most people, we never get taught about this. They skip over, they go straight from the revolution to the Civil War, usually. You get a topical understanding of the War of 1812, which I would love to ramble about for hours, by the way, because, it was great. Well, it wasn't great for the people that died, but, in general. For the nation, it was a resounding success in the end. You get glossed over the Spanish-American War and go straight to World War I and then World War II. Korea is mostly skipped over, and then you get Vietnam, and they like to teach about that because it's like America bad. And then you get a little bit about the Persian Gulf, maybe, and then it goes straight to Iraq, Afghanistan, and the modern era. War of 1812 is probably the most fascinating, yet it's almost never talked about. Like the fact that a microburst put out most of the fires that the regulars had set in D.C. and scattered their lines, and then the last battle of the war was fought after the war was over, and involved thousands of pirates, by the way. Had come in with Andrew Jackson. Oh, man. That would have been one funny-ass battle. Just saying. matey, I would gladly side with Andrew Jackson. Cooking Inferno, I agree about the post-1949 view of the American Empire, but not the classical definition. Just to note, the Philippines didn't even become fully independent of the U.S. until the 1990s. Personally, I think that we should, seriously push for the Philippines to enter as a territory. Yeah, Filipinos, apparently the regard for Americans, it's weird. People from 3 countries, at last check, have a more positive opinion about the United States than American citizens do. The Polish, the Vietnamese, and the Philippines. So a country that we invaded to liberate them from Spain, but, there was still skirmishes and stuff. A country that we waged an extensive war on, Vietnam, and then a country that we tried to liberate from the iron, wall, so to speak, the Iron Curtain, but then Patton got assassinated, and so we were unable to do so, and they suffered under the Soviets for several decades. It's very, very strange geopolitics. It's fascinating. I like reading books on these subjects because some of them are so obscure, like nobody even knows anything about them. I like the Polish, the Vietnamese, and the Filipinos. Great people. And great food. Oh man, I could use some borscht right now or some lemongrass soup. Copium poppies. If the military was smart, they would contract with stoners to pilot drones. It's basically playing video games. You could probably do that. I mean, look at Iran. They're not even a fully developed economy, and they're pumping out thousands and thousands of drones, probably tens of thousands every month. They're basically cornering the market on drones. We need to get stuff up. There are some ideas. Imagine a stealth drone, for example. This would be the nation's worst nightmare, by the way. Large stealth drone. It's invisible to radar. It is coated in Vantablack. It is invisible at night. Flies into the country under the cover of darkness and delivers a bunker buster or something like that. Let's say a briefcase nuke, like a Davy Crockett device. Well, you could overrun the entire front lines of the enemy in a single night. Yeah, you can completely cripple them. Destroy their docks and everything. We used to have what was called the neutron bomb back in the day. I think they stopped making those. Neutron bomb is formatted differently from a standard nuke. And it will literally fry anything nearby that happens to be metallic. It will just completely destroy it. Has a limited blast range, and it's not really anti-personnel. I'm assuming the explosion would cause damage in that sense as well, but mainly it's anti-vehicular. If you were to launch one of those successfully into, let's say, an airfield, or let's say a staging area for tanks, that would do a lot of damage. Anyone inside the vehicles would be effectively microwaved, if I remember correctly. We should be building more nukes, actually. Connie Dan, Ramaswamy, oh yeah. Ramaswamy wanted more H-1B and other visas that allowed millions of Indians to immigrate 3 years at a time, always extended to where they never go back to India. Trump wants less. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably their major falling out point. And it's not like they hate each other or anything like that, but that's a fairly major sort of element of foreign policy. Immigration, no, it's not a serious issue at all. It's only the number one issue that people were talking about in the last election, and the Democrats still don't understand this. Bystander syndrome sticks. I barely came back because I had some big fish to fry for a few months. Did viewership used to be higher? What are your plans to increase the number of clankers? The world is counting on us, guys. Things are returning more to normal. There's algorithmic demotion, and then, of course, some people judged me for my actions, mostly out of ignorance, but never mind. Yeah, things are going along pretty well. Also, book sales are considerably up, actually. I'm currently writing Morbid Stories 2, and I made a mistake, everyone. It's a happy mistake. It's like sort of like a Bob Ross episode. My mistake was that I thought that I wasn't going to have enough material to get to 355 or thereabouts pages to have a full-length work in the 6x9 format. And I just got through another section last night. It was the drugged dossier section. That's where people are like, they're just fucking crazy because they're high all of the time. And then morbidity erupts, and people die, and get ripped apart, and go to hell, and things like that. But I realized, well, literally last night, that as I go through the next section, I'm going to have too much material. I thought I was going to have too little. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the sarcastic ad section out, put it in its own book, because it's already like 40 pages or something like that. I'll complete that work, and if it comes up short, I'll do more morbid haikus or something zany. You know, I can do whatever I want. It's my book. And then I'll have, so technically I'm writing 2 books at the same time on the same file. And then I've got to do Nutty Norman too. I've got to remake Sickness and Hell, remake Fruits of Eden. I'm focusing on my own work now, as opposed to edited works. Although I like editing books a lot, gives me an opportunity to read as well as write at the same time, and it's fun. My illustrator hasn't gotten back to me. I don't even know if she's still alive, so yeah, I mean, there's no way for me to release. I've already done 4 edited works, but there's no one to illustrate them. If you happen to want to make illustrations, I don't care how sporadic and spastic they are, just sketches basically. I like charcoal drawings and stuff like that. I actually like it to be a little bit more spare with the occult works. But I have 4 works that are ready to go. They're all fully second edited and everything. But I can't release them because Amazon insists that you must add content to the work, even if you have literally completely rewritten the entire thing. Copium, seriously though, drones could be piloted by civilians, and there's no need to drug test if they are kamikaze drones. Yeah, kamikaze drones, I think, are going to become a thing. And a big thing, by the way. Think about it. How much does a drone cost? How much does the explosive cost? How much does your target cost? Well, if you get a 1,000 to 1 ratio, that's pretty effective. I have a feeling that drones and anti-drone technology are going to become the next arms race, actually. Because, again, in theory, if you were to take a stealth aircraft, well, not technically an aircraft, but something that is deflecting radar, and put a small nuclear weapon in it, and fly it onto an airbase and detonate it, you've just destroyed what? $10 billion worth of machinery? And completely, the whole area is now uninhabitable due to radiation. What did you spend on that? 10 million? Well, that's a pretty good return rate. Once that becomes a thing, nations that are surrounded by ocean will be much more happy than the rest of them. Thankfully, the United States can count on Canada and Mexico to at least not allow Soviet drones into the country or something like that, so I guess we can hold our own. Trump administration asks Supreme Court to let it limit passport sex markers for trans and non-binary Americans. Good. I happen to support this. You've either got a Y chromosome or you don't have a Y chromosome. That is your gender. You are male or female. Sex means absolutely nothing. That's where Arnold Schwarzenegger there breaks down, because it's not really about penis and vagina. It's really more about your genetic structure than anything else. But we've lost sight of this in order to be politically correct, and as a society, we really need to get past that, because that's not progress, that's actually regress. I don't give a shit if somebody takes hormones. I don't give a crap how they dress. I mean, fucking look at me. I am no hypocrite. But at the same time, a person is either male or female. For government documentation purposes, that should be codified. It makes sense. Simply scratching off X. So in other words, when I go to renew my passport, I can just sign an X there. They won't know that I have a dick or something like that. Yeah, no thank you. I think that it would be much safer as a society if we simply have gender norms. Don't care what gender somebody wants to identify with, and I don't care how they want to screw as long as it's all consensual. But there has to be some standard for legal purposes, and this should be considered semi-separate from, any sort of political argument over this particular area of thought. Tarred and feathered, look very closely at the next dragonfly you see. Fairly mimetic one got caught in the garage earlier, actually. It was a biological dragonfly, of course. Yeah, back in the 1970s, they actually developed like a little hoverfly-looking thing, and it was a drone, actually. It was a remote-controlled. The CIA did that. Just imagine how much the technology has advanced now. Unglued Arts. I draw and paint as well as microwave mache. Call or write. Yes. Go and contact Unglued Arts, and he can get you cool shit like this. Right, look at this. It's got the Roz Williams shirt and everything. I don't know. I think that this is incredible, actually. It's got the little glasses and the hat, too, and everything else. I like it a lot. I know, I'm just admiring. I love it when people send me cool artistic things that they've made. Because, like, there's thought in it, you know? It's different from something that you buy from a store that's been mass manufactured and there's like 10,000 of them out there. It hits a little bit different, just saying. Those are my noodly appendages down there. And yes, girls out there, yeah, these can be used for other purposes too. Just joking. Well, kind of. Sadly, I don't have octopus tentacles. If I did, that would be pretty cool. Be useful in gardening, I suppose. Copium poppies. Just think how effective a decentralized army of stoned gamers would be. No need for boot camp. Just train them as drone pilots and hire them as civilian contractors who work remotely. You know, here's the funny thing. That suggestion may seem absurd now, but might actually become a reality. Because you don't really require any training beyond gaming. If you had a system with very low latency and a good visual system, and, you know, the only purpose is basically put the drone over here, it's automatically showing you where you need to go, and stay below the radar, or maybe it's stealthy, maybe it's at night and stuff, with night vision and shit, that could actually work. You wouldn't need actual soldiers for that. You could do that job, I could do that job. I'm decent at video games. You could even have contests. Okay, we're bombarding the enemy. Everyone gets 10 drones. And you've got to try to get them to their targets and then blow them up with nukes or whatever the hell it happens to be, incendiary explosives. And so we're going to have a contest to see who is the most accurate, who can wipe out the enemy the best. Also, as I pointed out, the real big problem for standing militaries, this is not necessarily a problem for asymmetric actors, but for symmetric actors, there is a much greater risk. If somebody figures out how to arrange the drones into the right pattern so that they fly as one and they can get in under the radar, so to speak, and sneak up on large ships and then plant thermite charges or something like that, they could do a catastrophic amount of damage. You could do this to an airfield too. You simply have to know where the object is. You wouldn't even need a human to control it. You could, as long as you know where it is in port, you could pretty much automate this, actually. And it would sink the ship right into the harbor, causing billions and billions of dollars of damage with an investment that would be a few million or something. Well within the budget of even non-state actors, by the way. The first nation to perfect that technology and mass deploy it will almost have an alternative to mutually assured destruction, because you could target pretty much any facility that you wanted. As long as it was well coordinated, you could pretty much incapacitate the enemy totally in a single day. I don't know whether AI is more hilarious or frightening at this point. I still lean towards the hilarious side, mainly because I don't care whether I get nuked. Everyone has to die someday. It's all good. But, I mean, it can be funny and entertaining. It can make music. It can make poems. It can do all sorts of things. But at the same time, it could be used to kill billions of people. Cat, I don't know, man. I think drone jammers takes out the threat of an orchestrated attack, in my opinion. Not if you have a countermeasure. If they develop a problem, the first nation to develop a countermeasure against jammers and things like that, they basically win. And you'll excuse me for my perceived hyper-patriotism, which is not my intent, but I am hoping that the United States develops it first, because otherwise there could be some fucking problems. Bogger, why is there always a threat of government shutdown? Because the parties can't get along with one another. They're being babies, basically. Now, let's get to the final article here. I'm not going to get to any of the other news. I'm already over an hour. Erica Kirk. I forgive him. The answer to hate is not hate. I'm going to weigh in on this. I am sorry that Charlie Kirk is dead, of course, so she's grieving, and she still has a couple of kids. I know that they're probably set up for life, but at the same time, father/husband is gone, so it must be a lot. As far as forgiveness goes, though, I wanted to weigh in a little bit. Forgiveness for me has always been sort of, number one, how bad did you get fucked? Number two, is there any exonerating circumstance involved? And number three, was it out of malevolence or ignorance, basically? So I use a trifold mechanism to judge whether a person is worthy of my forgiveness. Let's say that a person is just retarded, basically. Well, I can't really hold things against them the same way that I would somebody who I know they know what they're doing, I know what's going on. Out of malevolence, or at least they knew what was going on and knew why it would be a bad idea. I'll hold it to them more. I've had arguments, actually, in several of my relationships, because I've had people that are involved with my life that are intelligent. I know that they know what they're doing, and they fuck up. And I'm like, what the shit are you doing? But then they complain because somebody else who is of lesser intelligence, I let them off the hook, so to speak. I do that because I can't expect them to be on the hook, so to speak. So you've got the malevolence versus ignorance thing. That's one consideration. And how bad is it? If somebody stole your soda, it's a little bit different than if they stole your car. So then there's the second consideration, and so on and so on forth. In this particular instance, your husband just got shot in the neck. Your kids had to see it. In this particular instance, I could not forgive the individual. No, I would try to destroy them in any way possible, actually. I can be exceptionally vengeful. I can also be exceptionally forgiving. I'm a little bit bipolar on this particular issue. You don't want to fuck with me? But if it's just a little bit of fuckery, I'll just ignore it. You stole my Coca-Cola, oh my god. Well, I don't drink Coca-Cola, whatever. You stole my kombucha, I will never forgive you. And that's, I think, like the appropriate way to be. Either complete vengeance, total crushing attack, or just let it go, basically. It's very bipolar, but it makes sense when you think about it. Copium poppies. Charlie Kirk's killer should get the electric chair with a dry sponge like in Green Mile. I don't know that I've ever seen the Green Mile, actually. I mean, I've heard of it. Everyone has, but I'm not sure that I've seen that movie. Dabshank the First. What if they steal your Red Bull? Well, then I'll just force them to let me shove it in their ass or something. Aw, I'm out of water. Well, that sucks. Gristle lumps. If they steal the V8, then they get the can thrown at their head. No, I think forgiveness is good. The person didn't know what they were doing was wrong. Exonerating factor. They just don't understand. And they didn't mean to. They weren't trying to fuck you over or anything like that. And it's something minor or something. I would forgive them. Or something that's minor in general. Maybe they were being malevolent, but it didn't really do anything. Is it really worth your time? No. It's not really worth your time to bother seeking major vengeance. But if somebody really, really screws you, or somebody that you care about, and all hell breaks loose, I believe in unfettered amounts of vengeance. I conceive of this as a logical position in life. Spider Eternal. What if they steal Biltong? Well, if they're that desperate for Biltong, then I'll just hand them another bag because clearly they're hungry. Minor things I do not retaliate against. If it's something that's meaningless, who cares? I'll look the other way. If it was something major, like, hey, your spouse just got their head blown off, I don't know that I'd be able to forgive that. So, I don't know, for Erica Kirk, I guess, She's a more charitable person than I am when it comes to that sort of thing. Personally, I'd be calling for the death penalty, and I don't even believe in it. By the way. Okay, let me be a little bit of a hypocrite in this particular situation. I would be calling for that, and I would do everything that I could to make his life miserable and torment him in the meantime. Like, for instance, hey, since Charlie Kirk made a lot of money, I've got all of this money. He's in prison right now. A lot of these prisoners have goddamn nothing. They've got no family connections, they've got no income, they've got nothing. What if I were to fill up all of their commissaries and make sure that they knew who I was? Oh, he's going to have a great time. That's what I would do. That would be hysterical. Blogger, Erica's a better person than Styx, though, you know. I'm here for the political observation, not morals. Lol. What is good? To see your enemies driven before you? To hear the lamentation of the women? Yeah, all you gotta do is fill up all those commissaries. You know, when they get 3-ply toilet paper and ketchup packets and stuff like that, they'll probably get the memo. Mr. Warden, what do you mean my commissary's paid up through the next 2 years? Oh, it was Erica Kirk. Interesting. Very interesting. Conan. Yeah, sometimes justice is outside of the justice system. In fact, most often it is. Just saying. That's what I would do. If I was Erica Kirk, I would fill up all of the commissaries of every other prisoner in the entire prison for like 2 years or something like that. Then I would donate a bunch of money in Charlie Kirk's name to getting, like, here's the thing about prison cuisine, to getting better herbs and spices and salt and things like that. And this was, by the way, why John Wayne Gacy actually had a good time in prison, because he knew how to cook. And that's something that's important, because we all have to eat. So if you were to just do that, and keep him in, 3-ply toilet paper and decent food, I think that they would thank you in multiple ways. She can have this dude decapitated at any given time. Probably should. Sort of deserves it. Shooting a man in front of his own kids for absolutely no reason. Because he's a Nazi. Stupid shit like that. Banana Clippy. Hey, anyone notice that only leftists and Democrats never have to give speeches behind bulletproof glass? Now that you mention it, actually, yeah, that is kind of odd. Yeah, you never see them putting up that plate glass in front of liberal politicians. Tired Retro Gamer, do you believe karma will take care of it? While I don't believe in karma, I believe that other individuals will take care of it. I have a feeling it's only a matter of time. Anyways, I think I'm going to go offline here. I have some work to do. I've done I've got a shit ton of tabs. It's just I've got to sort through them and make sure that the ones that I'm actually covering are still relevant. So I'm going to have to go through the docket, and I'll probably be able to pull 3 or 4 off of there, and then add more tomorrow. And, yeah, at some point I should probably eat too. I'm getting hungry. I've got salad ingredients. I'm going to make my honey mustard, actually, later. I just really wish that I had beet greens. Unfortunately, I am let down. I've been abandoned by the god of beets. Very, very sad. Anyways, I'll be back tomorrow. That's about all. Peace out.